Thank you so much, Elder, for the prayer and for the welcome. Also allow me to say once again, it's wonderful to be here, and that the Lord has kept us and wants us to continue with our series on mental health. And I take this opportunity to welcome you and greet you. Good evening, everybody. Good evening, those who are watching us virtually, and we are glad that you are watching. We are getting very good feedback that indeed people are getting blessed and they are at least getting something. I said from the beginning that in mental health, I am not making specialists, mental health specialists or psychiatrists, but I'm just creating an awareness so that people can accept that there is the mind and the mental health issues, that they can be able to take action. My 3 A's. So today we will be continuing with our lesson. Yesterday we really looked at what you can say, does it matter, why mental health matters? And we realized by the time we are living that indeed we are nothing but the mind. What the mind is who you are. And therefore, if you are actually what the mind is, then you have to guard that mind cautiously, because it can take you places, or it can also embarrass you. So at least that's where we are here, to make sure that we are able to develop healthy minds, and we make sure that we are having a healthy, that's the mental health aspect. Thank you so much once again for the planners for seeing that it's important that we talk about mental health, a platform that I'm always looking forward to be able to create this awareness, because as most of us know that mental health has always been neglected, yet it is coming out to be indeed should be the one which should be on the top. Yesterday we looked at what actually it controls. Today we want to see what is the connection between the mind and the body. And remember the definition we talked about, a state of mental, physical, and social. I hope one day somebody will be coming and talking about the social aspect of health, so that we can be able to be complete. Now that we are warming up on the mental aspect, I believe that even the socially it's coming in, and therefore we want to see this connection. When I'm talking about the body, I'm looking at the physical aspect of that definition. And many at times, it's the one which people have always thought, when you are talking about health, look at somebody, do an x-ray, do some blood works, and then whatever you find there, address it, and period. Somebody who is coming, he has a wound, dress it and leave that person, without even greeting the person, without even asking the person, did you sleep well? How was home? You see, those are the aspects that I was talking with my colleagues this morning. I arrived and they were doing a round, the surgeons, and I looked at them and they said, surgeons, as we just look at the wound, the spine, and then I said, how many of you actually ask the people how they slept? Of course, none of them. And that is the mind. And yet it is so connected that when one is sick, the other one is also sick. It actually fails. And as we'll be looking at, we are looking at, from the beginning, in the old time, it has been understood that the body and the mind work so closely together so that failure of one means loss of health to the other one. And that is how it is, and that is why we need to work together. There is a Roman person who coined something called that. The Romans coined the term mene sana in corpore, meaning a sound mind in a healthy body. You can only talk about a healthy body if the mind is sound. And therefore, the connection is such that one is failed when the other one is sick. Spiritually, I love this from Proverbs chapter 17, verse 22. Maybe you can look, and I want to read. Proverbs 17, verse 22. It says, a cheerful heart is good medicine too, but a crushed soul drives up the bone. I don't know whether you are looking at that. That what? A cheerful is what? Is medicine to the body. But a what? A crushed spirit is what? It dries up the bone. That is telling us how connected these two are. I just want to draw your attention that most of the diseases that we actually suffer, and I wish the slides could be up, I just want to take an example of one disease and which all of you know. When we first had the disease called HIV, the AIDS, majority of the people who died did not die because of the virus itself. The virus was so innocent, it was too early for them to die. But the impact of the HIV, when you are told you have this, you actually died before the actual death. And what died, that was the impact of that news to the mind. If you did not negotiate well, some people died hardly 2 weeks of diagnosis. Others lived. We know that the longest person who lived was how long? Over 30 years, isn't it? He died the other day. So what is the difference? The state of the mind and how these people looked at it. It has been demonstrated that some diseases like TB, cancer, HIV, and others, their prognosis or their response to medication depends on the mental state of the person. I know you may not appreciate, but that is the truth. The attitude that this person has developed towards that disease means a lot, regardless of the best medicine that has been given to that particular. The attitude. Even some of us, when we go to the doctor, how you respond to whatever you've been given. Our old mothers will always imagine that the best doctor is the one who gives an injection. So when they go there and they are given tablets, they will always say, well, you know, I was treated, yes, but, you know, they just gave me tablets. That tells you a lot about the attitude towards it. And for sure, the response even to those tablets is going to be like one who had a positive attitude. The hope in these people means a lot. In the past, tuberculosis was seen as a disease that could not be cured. And a disease because, you know, that it used to affect many people in the family. So it brought a bit of scare. So that when you go and you are told you are suffering from TB, and then you just ask, what? So I'm going to be on treatment for 6 months, for 8 months? That a lot brings you down. But when you have hope and say, wow, it is a treatable disease and I am likely to get better the moment I start, that determines how fast. The serenity, social interactions of the feel and also feeling of well-being, they have a lot to do with the response to the various diseases. Worry and fear have been found to hinder recovery of many people. They worry. And at this stage, I've always said that even research, scientific research, has shown that people who have got hope or who have actually been given hope when they are sick, they are likely to recover faster. Not because they have the illness is a mental, but even the physical. There is this research which was done. People were operated on, same operation, same surgeons, put in the same place, but one group was allowed to be visited and prayed for. Hello, that is why I'm believing that health is between the evangelistic campaign. They were prayed for, they were visited. The other group, they were not visited and they were not prayed for. It took double the time of recovery for those who did not have, who were not actually prayed for and visited for. Social support, the interaction, very key. It has nothing to do with somebody touching your wound, dressing or doing anything, but it is all about the mind and how it has connected to that wound, the surgery. So it is important that to note that some diseases, for example, common cold. Have you ever wondered why you have somebody with a common cold and they are in a room, several people are there, a few will catch the cold, others will not. Is it because the others don't have noses? Is it because their noses are dirty, or what is it? It is all about what is the state of your mind. That is how connected this is. Allow me very fast to take you through the stress model and how the two are so connected And yet yesterday I said that one of the highest cause of mental disorders is actually stress and how you manage. I don't want to, maybe just a very quick definition. What is stress? It is how your body, it's not even the mind, how your body responds to a perceived threat or demand, isn't it? So it is the whole body which is going to respond. Yet stress acts so much on the mind. When you look at the stress or the fight and flight model, it is the sympathetic nervous system that is activated, which is not in the mind, it is the body, that then produces some neurotransmitters which is going to make you alert so that you can respond appropriately according to the demand. During that time, the blood is directed to the most important organs that you need either to fight, to flee. I hope you don't freeze. Those are the three ones. Many at times it is either fight or flee. So if you decide to fight, you need your brain to think very fast how you are going to approach it. You need your hand so that you can fight. And you may need your legs at that time. But if you want to flee, what you need most is your brain and what? And your legs. And that is how the body is going to distribute the blood at that time. During that time, there is something called the cortisol levels that are usually increased. These same cortisol levels are increased because of what you want to respond to. When somebody has attacked you, abused you, you know that is a threat. The response of the cortisol levels will be commensurate to what you decide to do. If this person is prepared to come and abuse you and hold, you know, the emotions, already the cortisol levels of this person is up. You are the one to decide to climb that tree with the person or not. Because when you climb, then the cortisol will be raised. Then you will find yourself shivering. You will find the emotions are actually at rampant. And because of the increased cortisol, now apart from the mind, which is annoyed, which is disgusted and abused and everything, the body is going to respond to the high level cortisol by having things like hypertension, ulcers, tension in the head, and many other things. That is the connection that is there. And you realize that as you manage stress, it is not just about the mind, about relaxation. We emphasize so much about physical exercise as a way of managing what? Stress. We also talk about diet. Diet is not just about for the brain, it's about your physical. How much are you able to stand the diseases that are around? It depends about how much your health. So if you look at that connection, right from the way stress is actually caused or the response of the general body, you realize that the effects of stress are not just only for the mind. We have the physical effect, we have the mental effect. That tells you the connection that is between those ones. And therefore, as we learn about the mind and what it is, we need to see that close connection. Let me tell you that for a very long time, even my colleagues have not appreciated the mind and the diseases that they treat. The other time I had a friend, they were looking at this patient who had a problem, they thought it was a cardiac problem, they were looking at it. But when I went to see the patient, I asked the patient, he had not slept for 3 days. And the patient was very, very anxious. And no matter how much painkillers the person was being given, they were not responding. Until such a time, you are able to address the mind. When you give this person just a simple anxiolytic and is able to sleep, the following morning, you might even reduce the amount of dose, the dose for painkillers. It has been demonstrated that once the mind is calm, the response even to medication is very, very good. Some people have, have taken unnecessarily long time to respond to treatment because we have not asked about their state of the mind. For example, if somebody comes with abdominal pain, we are so much rigorously asking, and investigating about, this abdomen, the stool and everything. And yet, I think we'll be looking at this, that some of the mind issues can present with even that abdominal pain. So, a simple history of the state of the mind, which I think I was looking at, appearance, the mood, the sleep, the memory and everything, will be able to give you a clue as to what is happening other than going for what you have seen. Remember, I mentioned that the mind being a software, you may not pick anything. And when you tell this particular person who is suffering that I can't see anything, you are not doing any better as far as his mental health is concerned. You remember I talked about the issue of memory. The memory can be affected by an actual medical condition or the mind, and the interface is almost always not there. And therefore, when somebody talks about memory, many at times we will always be thinking about the mind alone, but it could be a metabolic problem. So that is the connection that is very, very that lies between these two. Allow me just to, as I finish, I'm going to just enumerate some of the effects of the stress, and you can see how it touches between the two without necessarily separating those two. If you have hypertension, it doesn't stop you from having depression if you have not negotiated well with the stress. I am looking at, I'm looking at the effects of stress, and I will just enumerate them very fast so that we can be able to appreciate that when you are not able to manage your stress well, it is not about, you are not only going to be my patient, but you'll be ending up to seeing many doctors because of that. I'm having difficulty reaching there, but I will be there shortly. So, when you look at there's long-term and short-term effect, I didn't want to go to the causes and everybody. I'm just looking at the effect of stress in the body, and they include the following. You don't have to write; it is something you know, but I'm just going to enumerate them. Okay, stress will start by not necessarily talking about I am stressed, but you are likely to suffer from headache, muscle tension, upset stomach, racing heartbeat, shallow breathing. All these are physical. It is not about mental, isn't it? All these are, you can actually see now. Yet, we always talk about stress when we are talking about the mind. The headaches and the backaches are very common in other physical conditions. So how do you differentiate the two? It is by taking history and making sure that there's a mind that can also cause the headaches. Sometimes you have sleep disturbances. Now you can see this is no longer physical. You have fatigue, anxiety, and worry when there is stress. Those are effects. Colds and cases of colds and flus, depression will set in if you have not negotiated the stress well. You have issues with digestive system, most of the time upset. Asthma is exaggerated. By the way, I have mentioned somewhere that sometimes the physical conditions can be worsened by the state of the mind. And I gave a story of my own daughter, whom I was always in the hospital because of asthma, very bad attacks that they had to be given what you call nebulization at the time of exams. Are you seeing the connection? Some conditions are worsened with the stress. So asthma will always have an attack because of stress, hypertension, and this is what sometimes leads to stroke, even people who have actually been having hypertension and well controlled. That is the physical effect. When the people feel stressed, they naturally go out to find why is it that I'm stressed, and they look for peace. They don't always connect the two. When you are stressed, you will always be told, look for a counselor. Hello? Look for what? A counselor, a psychologist, and because it is stress. But I think we can see the connection that sometimes it has gone beyond just the mind, and therefore it is presenting as a physical. Many of us have even gone to hospitals because of a backache, and you always think that maybe the bone has a problem, maybe I strained the back, or I did everything. But it has nothing to do with the strain, it has a lot to do with the state of the mind. When I teach about anxiety, most people are in cardiac clinics because of anxiety. Some of them are actually being followed up in the neuro because of something totally different. So unless you have actually related the two and separate, which is not even separable, that's why we need to address a person in a holistic manner. When you are going to a doctor, I am requesting that the physician should be able to look at this person in totality and be able to connect the two. Yes, I am coming because I have broken my leg. But where was I? What was my status before I broke that leg? What led even to break that leg? Because many at times, for my friends, the surgeon, they would always look at the bone and look at how they are going to fix the implants and everything. But what was there? What, is there some pre-existing? What has that caused to the person, the fact that you've broken the leg? Allow me to say this. One client, and I told her that I will be talking about her. Unfortunately, she suffered spinal injury just not long time ago. A very young girl, you know, you have ambitions, you have the vision and everything. You just feel like your life has stopped. And those are guys that obviously we need to be very keen about their mind and the connection with their body. So when she realized that she's in hospital, she was like, I have nothing to live for. I have no reason even for rehabilitation because all is lost. But I went to her and I said, do you know what? You have lost only one thing. And she was like, what do you mean? Yes, we have to be realistic. The mind had shut down that there was nothing else that can be. I told her, the only thing I can assure you, because it was called complete knee whatever, injury, I told her one thing I can tell you, you can have to appreciate that you have lost. Only one, walking using your legs, but walking you will walk again. You know, she looked at me and said, what do you mean? Yes, you will walk with a wheelchair, but now the only thing you have lost, as far as your mind is concerned, your upper body and everything is concerned, you will be. And therefore, you will go back to school, finish your college. After that, you will be employed. You will even have a family. Many people have family. She looked at me and said, what are you talking about? I explained to her. And I told her that your mind is in a state that it can deceive you. So I want you now to negotiate and work with that mind. So the problem of this girl was not just only the fact that she was injured and the fact that you know, it was a lot. And once you fix that, then even it will be lighter. So one time I'm moving and they are doing rehabilitation. Somebody is struggling to walk in what you call the parallel bar. And the guy is just moving with all the legs. I told them, stop. I looked at the physiotherapist. I said, talk to the mind of this guy. And they were saying, what are you talking about? I moved close. I said, are you ready for this? Then she looked at me and said, I don't think I am. I said, no, you can. Do you know what it is? I want you to tell yourself that what you are going to do is moving one leg at a time. But another thing I realized, he was not very sure that these people can support him enough. The mind was telling him, you are going to fall. Then I told them, work on the hands. hold, you are actually firm. Now move. The connection between the two is real. And the person was able to move, not because he was moving, but the way they strengthen those muscles. I am here to say that the mind is as important as your hand. The mind is as important as your eye and your face. When you are washing your face in the morning physically, wash your mind also. Hello? So that we are able to connect the two always. Even as a person, when you are going to the doctor and the doctor does not remember that there is a mind, remind yourself, and if possible, remind themselves that, by the way, doctor, you didn't even greet me. You didn't even ask me how I am doing. That they do. But then there's some details. I didn't sleep well. I wish you asked me. It is you to take charge and to know the connection so that you can be able to look at our issues, our illnesses, our health in a holistic manner. To that far, I hope that now we know that there's a very close in me, and when you are finding that you are taking medicines and you are not improving, ask yourself, what could be happening? Is it the medicines that are bad, or is there something that I am not? Am I hopeful? What is my attitude towards my disease, the physical one? Some people, when they are diagnosed with a certain disease, they die before the actual death. What takes you there? The what? The mind. So, it is important that we are able to control our minds. The last example I usually give is one time in one of the hospitals, as I say, and with all due respect to my colleagues, they had taken biopsy from this lady, and they were suspecting cancer. True to their suspicion, it came out that she had actually cancer of the breast. And because of the surgeon and how we look at it, we forget what is the response of this, what is going to be the response. So the surgeon just sat and said, Mama, you have a cancer of the breast, and we are going to come out with your breast. So the lady looked. She could not see anything. This is what she told me a year later when she came back and when it was too late. She left the hospital. She doesn't know how she crossed the highway, but she found herself back home in Machakos. And she could not imagine coming back. You know, there are some things we talk, and you know, for doctors, for us, it is easier to just say, we are coming out of, or we are going to operate on you and we remove your breast. That alone means a lot. That connection between, it is going to be a loss. You've not prepared this person. The mind is not ready to lose that. And therefore, we need to be always sensitive towards that. May God bless you. Shall we pray? Gracious Father, thank you so much because you continually remind us that you created us in a wonderful way, the way David says that I am wonderfully and fearfully made. That as we continue to discover more about how you created us, my Father, I pray that you will be able to appreciate and be able to look ourselves holistically, even the caregivers and those around us, that we can be able to enjoy health as it is, Lord, divine. As we continue with the other programs, may your presence continually be with us. And Lord, even as when we finish this session and this 3-week session, we are going to be closer to you and knowing what you want us to know. Thank you because you have heard our prayer. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.